Welcome to Soul Elevation, guiding your ascension to new heights. I'm your host, Kara Goodwin, and in this episode, Eva Müller and I go deep. She's had profound spiritual awakening experiences, and she shares hugely valuable information about different states of consciousness and what they were like for her. I know it can be easy to think that the more expanded our awareness, the easier life can get. And Eva herself shares that this was her impression before her actual experiences. But these awakenings can bring through their own challenges, and it's fascinating to get the insight from Eva about what she experienced. She also guides us through a powerful meditation at the end that I recommend listening to and experiencing more than once. Eva Müller is a renowned spiritual teacher and energy healer who's worked with thousands of people from all over the world. After undergoing her own spiritual awakening through various levels of consciousness and healing her human system, she now guides people on their path of spiritual awakening. She's a channel for high vibrational divine healing energies that she transmits, pulling people toward their highest truth, helping to unlock their true potential and connecting them to their true nature. Before we begin, I'd love to invite you to explore the many offerings waiting for you at karagoodwin.com. You'll find my book, Your Authentic Awakening, a collection of free guided meditations, and other resources to support you wherever you are on the spiritual path. If, like me, you felt called to the mysteries of sacred geometry, I've created a recorded course that not only explains these high-frequency patterns, but also guides you in working with them directly. You can also discover upcoming summits and workshops designed to connect you with like-hearted souls and expand your consciousness in real time. And now, enjoy this episode. Well, welcome, Eva. I'm so excited to have you here today. Thanks so much for joining Soul Elevation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm very much looking forward to the conversation.
Me too. I'm so excited. I know a little bit about your story, but you have a really powerful spiritual awakening story, and I would love to start there.
Yeah, of course. Basically, I started my spiritual journey with meditation. Because before I just talked about meditation a little bit. So before, my life was very normal, and I was open for, let's say, spirituality, for angels, for energy work and stuff like that, but I wasn't practicing it, or also it wasn't part of my life on a regular basis. Let's take it like that. I went to healer every now and then, but that was really it. But then there was a time in my life when I felt, most of my life, but then at that time specifically, there was something missing, and I just didn't really know what it was. So before, I was already looking everywhere, finishing school, finishing university, other degrees, working, earning money, and I always was looking for it on outside, traveling. So feeling this lack, feeling this gap, and in the first moment it's filled, but then you feel the emptiness again. It just gets bigger and bigger. And then this time came when I realized I was working at that time. I don't want to move forward in my life like that anymore. I just don't feel fulfilled. I feel like it doesn't manifest as I wanted to manifest my life experience. And then I took some time off, and I started to look into personal development more. So I listened to a lot of podcasts. So podcasts like yours were very helpful for me at the time. Did online programs, and there was this one specific online program where where there were guided meditations, part of it. And I did these guided meditations, and there was this one specific meditation where I had a very profound experience, actually. And this made me curious. So I was just meditating along. It was beautiful. Pulled me into a very deep state of meditation. But then what happened? My sense of self dissolved. So I completely dissolved. Eva dissolved. My life, the whole journey, like the whole life story, everything dissolved. There were no problems anymore. No earth, like everything was basically gone. So I was just in this beautiful space. There was peace, there was silence, there was nothing going on, and it just felt so nice, When you're like in a space of life where things are not going as you want, and then you like move into that space where everything seems to be perfect, but there's nothing there in a way, which is weird, but it was just so beautiful to hang out in there. And I really enjoyed it. And I thought, okay, wow, if I can experience this right now, like I just want to have more of that. And then I started with regular meditation and joined a meditation group online on Zoom, which is very convenient. And I meditated with this group and was receiving spiritual energy transmissions like right from the beginning. I started this journey. Yeah, and everything basically happened from there. Yeah.
So would you consider, if we wanted to label what that experience was, if we use kind of language that people might be familiar with, would you consider that Samadhi?
Yeah.
Or
yes. Today I know it was Samadhi, but back then I didn't know. For me it was just a great experience. Today I know it was Samadhi. Yeah.
and it lasted the duration of the meditation, or did it continue on for a little? Sometimes people enter that state and then they kind of don't come out of it for a while, but it was part of the meditation, or how was it for you?
It was really like the meditation was over. I was still sitting for another, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes. And I was in that space for that time. And I went back to this meditation, and the same experience happened like once or twice. But then I basically lost interest because I just wanted to explore more. So I didn't feel it was like something, it was extremely amazing when I experienced it the first time, but then I experienced it a second and a third time, and then I was like, okay, there must be something more as well.
Yeah. Well, and I love how you talk about what an amazing experience that was for you, because I can imagine for some people that could be alarming if you start to, you were saying there's no more Eva, there's no more, you're not connected anymore with your identity. And I could imagine that there could be some like, wait a minute, where am I going? What's happening? Am I losing it? Was there any of that for you?
No, it just felt very freeing.
Yeah. Did it seem familiar at all?
It didn't seem unfamiliar, but this is in general what I see on the whole path of awakening and gifts are opening and everything. Maybe at first, it feels unfamiliar, but then when you're there like a day or two, or you've experienced it more often, then it just feels so normal. It just feels so extremely normal. So it's all known anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah. So but for me it was liberating, and because I just didn't like my life experience anymore. So I just wanted to get out of it, not off from life, but just of this specific, like how I felt about life. Let's say like that. So life itself was unfolding in a good way, anyways. But just how I felt about life. I just had so many what I call low vibrational energies in my system. So a lot of fear, a lot of anger, disorientation. I just didn't know what I wanted. I wanted to kind of find my life purpose. I didn't know how. So there were a lot of thinking about it, a lot of emotions that I didn't know what to do with. That was just too much going on, and I had no guidance, or I didn't even know that there would be guidance, that I could find guidance at that time. So I basically was just by myself, and then I listened to personal development podcast where people were also like touching into spirituality a little bit. And this is what I really enjoyed, because I thought, okay, there must be something more. So the openness was definitely there for me in my understanding, although I wasn't experiencing it. And I thought, okay, if those people are experiencing that already, then it must be real. So I can I can get there as well. I don't know how, but there must be a way.
But it's out there. Yeah,
exactly.
I love it. And well, another thing that your experience triggers for me is a remembrance of being in a second grade classroom. So I was about 7 years old. And I was working on a worksheet, and it was kind of like quiet time where the teacher was no longer giving instruction. We were just kind of finishing this worksheet on our own. And all of a sudden, I felt my identity leave. And I just felt this nothingness. And I just remember I had no idea what that was. And I was in this sort of suspended state of like, I realized I had a body, but like I wasn't my body. And I was like, and of course, like when we're in the spiritual world, we understand this. These are concepts that are like introduced to us even before we may be able to experience them. But it was like my identity left, and I was kind of like watching myself from the inside and from the outside. It was very strange. And I remember feeling a little bit of like choosing to bring myself back in and to get out of that state. It was like, and it was a little bit scary because I had no frame of reference, and I wasn't trying to do that. And the fear part at that young age of 7 years old, I look back on and I'm like, what was that? Because I didn't even know enough to be like, oh, people might think you're crazy, or but it was almost like I was afraid I was going to lose myself, like that I knew enough about my identity at that point to be like, oh, I need that part of me, So it's just very interesting. And now,
very fascinating at such a young age. Wow. I mean, that's the first time I'm hearing this, that somebody had this opening at such a young age. That's so cool.
Well, and then it was gone. It was something that I didn't understand. I even forgot about it for a long time, and I have remembered it in the last probably 10 years but it was one of those things that I felt like I could do that again if I wanted to, and I felt that I shouldn't do it. And so I don't know what kind of like imprints there were on me of like some sort of danger of doing that or something like that. But anyway, for me looking back, I'm like, oh, I shifted into a different state of consciousness. And that's kind of what I want to talk about next, because you beautifully described entering a different state of consciousness where you were in that samadhi state. Can you talk about the different levels of consciousness and how you've experienced them?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I want to share first is that the levels of consciousness is a possible path of awakening. So we can awaken consciousness, but then we also have the body-mind system that needs to awaken as well, so the embodiment. And my path was through consciousness, so this is what I'm going to share. But it's not just consciousness, it's also like it means the body needs to follow as well. So after meditating for about 3 months, I started feeling energies and had visions and saw light with my eyes closed and stuff like that. So I became very receptive. Before I didn't feel anything. Then I was more curious, and then I learned that there is levels of consciousness and that people can actually experience this in one lifetime. And then I got curious, and when something is interesting to me, I put all in. I just go for it, and I was very dedicated, meditating every day, doing practices and stuff. And so the first level of consciousness that I experienced is self-realization. So I'm just going to name them through that people know what I'm going to talk about. So self-realization, unity consciousness, so this would be oneness, Brahman consciousness, and then there is the para-Brahman. So Brahman consciousness is the absolute. And self-realization is a state where basically I was watching myself from the background. So I was more in my body, my thoughts, my emotions. I was something else looking into the world throughout my eyes, and it was very interesting because also at the time my vision closed down. So this was actually a very weird part. My vision closed down, and I was looking at everything like through a camera lens. So everything I experienced in this world also became a little impersonal because of that. So it was more of observing or watching. And the good thing was I also started to become aware of patterns in my system that I was following, like patterns I inherited from my family, parents, from society, just the truth of others I was following. And it wasn't my own truth, but I could identify it at that time. Before I didn't see it, I couldn't really see my own truth. So this is when this started to open as well, that I could see stuff is there that is actually not of my truth. So this was self-realization. And after that state, there's actually also a little middle state. It's called God consciousness, and it's more of experiences that are opening up. So God consciousness, because it's like a door opens up suddenly. So when I was out in nature, running in the forest, for example, it was like it opened up and everything was God. So from one minute to the next, so everything looked so. Still, Eva was looking at it. So this is the difference here. I was looking, or the self at that time was looking. So there was still an individual there. I was looking outside, and on the outside, everything was just blissful. I felt so much bliss in my body as well. Everything looked like golden underlaid. Yeah, it was just sparkly, and everywhere you look, oh my God, so beautiful. Like this was such beautiful moments.
And this was still in meditation?
No,
this was in
eyes open in the forest running.
Like as you're out in the world.
Yes, exactly.
Wow,
exactly. So this was also the same with self-realization. This is what I described was like out in the world. The system is changing. So it's a permanent change of how the world is perceived and how I perceive myself. And with the God consciousness is really, you see like suddenly these openings happening. So it was somewhere like 10, 15 minutes, and the longest one was actually on my birthday. So this was my birthday gift. It seems like it was for 2 hours or 2 hours. When I was on a longer hike, and that was very beautiful. So the whole hike, I was in absolute bliss. Love was flowing, like this divine love, and everything was just golden underlaid. And when I looked at it, I could see the energy of everything, and it was just very blissful. So that was very beautiful. But this closed down after a certain amount of time. And then after that, there was unity consciousness. So first, I thought, this is why I was on this path. When I reach unity consciousness, this was my understanding, my life will be so much better. I will be in bliss all the time. There will be joy. I won't have any life problems anymore. I don't have to have a normal job anymore. I don't know why I thought that, but there were a lot of things I thought that, life will just be so awesome and different when I reach unity consciousness. This was just my understanding for some reason. So and then, but when I reached it, of course, the first few hours were very interesting. So how did this happen? I actually had a shift. So I was sitting in meditation, and energetically, there is a small self boundary around our system, and then there is the oneness. So all of creation is infinite oneness, and this boundary dissolved, and I saw it in my mind's eye that a balloon was flowing off. Like my skin was flowing off like a balloon. So this is how I saw it with my eyes closed. And then suddenly the skin was gone, and everything was one. So I was merged with everything that is in creation. This was the experience of meditation. And then how it manifested in my life experience. Well, the first day was really great. It was blissful, and I felt so much lighter and expanded. And it was a bit weird as well, because you just feel very different when these boundaries are dissolved. But then after a few hours, it was very different. So there's this mechanism in the system where we can hold down low vibrational energies or experiences from the past that we don't want to bring up or don't want to see, don't want to feel, emotions that we just, can't handle. And this mechanism broke down, and like all these emotions just came up like that. I was in absolute fear, without a reason. There was so much fear present, anxiety, depression, like a lot. It just came up one after the other. Just these energies came up, and I was in them. I had no idea what was going on. Also, because of this opening, how I perceived the world was very different. Everything was pixeled. So I thought I damaged my system somehow as well, because I couldn't really see normal anymore. It didn't feel normal. Then what I also experienced, the ego was pulled into the background. So it was really basically how I describe it today is the energy is withdrawn from the ego, and it just pulls into the background, because when we don't identify with the ego anymore, it doesn't get the energy, it's not fed anymore, and then it just moves back. So this is basically what happened at that time. And this brings forward this feeling of death. So I had this for a few days, like this feeling of dying, even though I was working. So just for everybody who's listening, I went to work normally. It was just while I was doing my everyday things, this was the experience on the inside. And then, then there is like what I saw is a ball of light in the center of my chest. And this was my life story and my identification, like who Eva is and my life, her life story. And this was ripped out of my chest, and then it was empty. So there was nothing there. Yeah. And I became hypersensitive. So I couldn't eat certain things anymore, couldn't have coffee, couldn't have sugar. I felt beings in other dimensions or energies in other dimensions. So when I was sleeping, I felt, so I didn't see them, but I just felt energies, all sorts of different energies entering the room, leaving the room. And yeah. So that was all very scary. And because of all the fear, I attracted also like, those energies like met this frequency. Yeah. So this was like an experience for 2 months that was, let's say, interesting from today's perspective. And I'm happy that I experienced it because, like I can guide people now through this. And I know it was there for a reason. But going through it, it wasn't the most fun.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. And I know that there's more to share, but I want to pause here because what you've shared is really profound. And it is also really, there's so many important things in this experience that I want to highlight. And because one of them is the expectation versus what actually happened. And I relate to this so much because I am always wanting to expand more, get to another level, more embodiment, like bring as much God light as I can hold, and let's keep moving through the layers and just radiating out. And I feel the same way. I'm like, let's do it. It's going to be great. And as I have gone through my process, there has been this big part of it, which is like, okay, you want, like one of the things that I would desire would be, let me know the truth. Let me see the truth. Let me be the truth. And there is that shadowy element of that, like, okay, you get what you want, and that's not all fun and games. It's not all beautiful. It's, if you want to be completely whole, if you want to embody yourself fully, then there are suppressed memories that come up that are, okay, well, that's part of who you are. And so here, remember this, integrate this, and what gifts are here for you. But that has been hard. And then also, if we take this on the bigger scale, because the more that you're embodying your own self and losing that identity and merging with all that is, the more you're also connecting to all that is. And so in this earth plane, we have a lot of darkness. And so we can think about this from a global perspective of current events that are going on and disclosure that's happening, for example. And, even from a very physical perspective, from a very like earth perspective, we might think, all right, I'm ready for the truth. Like I want the truth to be revealed. And I do want that. And as I learn more and more, there's part of me that wants to close the box and be like, all right, enough. That I can't take anymore right now. It's just it's too inverted and it's too disturbing. And it's not that I want to live in illusion or I want to live in lies, but when because you went through that, it's such a rapid pace. So there's so much that's coming in and you're having to deal with so much, and you've done a great job of trying to articulate the multidimensional aspects of it, of everything that was happening all at the same time with your identity, but also with the fear that was coming in, and then the resonance of what that was attracting in, and how you're trying to deal with that, and it's just happening all at once. And that is a huge shift from how we live in an illusionary reality right now. Those are a couple things that came to mind as you were talking, but there was so much there. It's just like, It's profound, and there's so much learning in there too. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you see that way. And also, I mean, there was a lot of learning for me, like to understand how the system works. And there are just different parts that follow these realizations or these openings. Because the whole system is changing, right? When we move through these levels of consciousness and we do healing work, because this was a big part then of the next part of my journey. So in unity consciousness, healing the system, so healing and clearing those low vibration energies that were left in there. And also starting to embodying and integrating the wholeness or the unity into the system. So this is also a process, and it's an in and out process, because sometimes the openness was there, the bliss, the expansion was there, everything was fine, and then when there was something coming up again, you're like consumed in that again. So you're back into this, in the fear, or back in the anger, or in which other shame, all these energies, you're just fully consumed for a little while until it moves through, and then the openness is there again. And so forth. So it's this play, but it got less, to none. So
do you have a sense too, this might be part of what you're leading into for the next phase, but did you have a sense that you were also processing for more than yourself, but what you were experiencing personally felt very personal?
I mean, a lot of things were definitely also collective things, especially around like women, what women had to go through and stuff. Just for example, yes, I could feel every now and then things like that also coming up, with like not just my own stuck energies, how I call them, but like really collective stuff. Yes, this was definitely there. Yeah, but it was just part of this clearing then.
Right.
I didn't really look into this so much. This is really what I have to say. Like the information was there, but I never really looked into it. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was presenting. You had enough going on with your own. That was so much to be going through. So then through that process, there was that healing element, it sounds like. And then did that bring you to another level?
Yeah. So basically, the healing definitely helped me to stabilize the experience of unity consciousness, so that this was there all the time, and there was hardly any interference. I mean, of course, every now and then there were emotions coming up and everything from the past. And, the thing is, when the identity dissolves, so how I see this is, the identity is gone, so no new things, like how life unfolds, you're not identified with it anymore, so it gets more impersonal. But at the same time, there are still energies that are playing out that have identification in them, so they still have to play out until they fully gone, and this takes some time as well. And then there was definitely the time where I felt, okay, unity is integrated, also like a lot of other stuff fell away, like desires fell away, for example, or I felt like I'm not accumulating any karma anymore. There was just these little things. And then Sahaja Samadhi. So this is a state when you meditate or you don't meditate, you feel always the same, like the consciousness doesn't change anymore. So this was also something on the way. And then the next, so this was like more subtle shifts, it's like more realizations. Also, actually, a very interesting one was so how the energy flows. So before, it always felt like the energy is flowing outward. So for me, out in the world. And then there was this sudden change when the energy was only flowing in. And this is when the experience started to become my main experience, is my insight. And the outside experience is still there, but it's like compared to the inside experience, it's like 80-20. So 20% is the outside experience and 80% the inside experience. There was like this movement. Suddenly, my main experience was my inside.
So when you say that, when you say your main experience, do you mean what you were paying attention to, like what you were more focused on, the energy that was running through the inside, or was it more that you were recognizing inner experiences and maybe they were just being reflected in the outside? Or can you say more about that?
Yeah, so from a scale of importance, was that what's happening in my system, more important than on the outside, and this is where the focus was. And also, like, I couldn't go energetically not anymore on the, like, so much into the outside world, just put so much energy into the outside world, because the energy was flowing back. So it was always flowing back to me. It was just my experience. And so the main focus and the main energy was within the system and not like outside anymore, even though there was this oneness, but it was still, we all have this consciousness, and the outside is just a reflection of the consciousness. But just where I guess the focus is, and this is still very similar. So the main experience, even though you meet people and there's stuff going on, but the experience of life and of everything is happening on the inside. So you see stuff on the outside with your eyes, but then it's as you said, it's the mirror. So when something brings something up in your system, it's happening within you. It doesn't happen on the outside. And this is when this was like just there all the time from that moment on.
Beautiful.
So that the outside is the experience. We don't have an experience in the outside, but it's only actually on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
beautiful.
beautiful.
And then the next shift was the Brahman shift. And this was actually also a very interesting story. So I was at the meditation retreat, and we were listening to devotional Divine Mother music, and I really enjoyed it at that time. And so I was sitting meditating, and I had this beautiful experience where the Divine Mother came into my system and looked out through my eyes, and I was gone, but she was in my system. This was the experience. I was this massive, expanded space of pure power, pure potential, and feminine. So I felt this strong feminine energy. And it was like a breathtaking experience, because this power, like the whole power of the universe, was within me. This is what I felt. And there was so much love present. There is divine love and everything. And then again, I had these questions. I asked the Divine Mother, what can I do to feel this all the time? Because it seems if I can feel it right now, it's a thing. And I just got the answer, I have to get rid of human love. And human love is really the conditional love. So I love you because you're nice to me, or because you're my mother, because of different reasons, different conditionings. So I was shown over a course of 2 weeks, just different scenarios where I had conditioned love in my system, and then just gave it away. I moved it through. And then suddenly one day, nothing was left. So everything was gone. There was no experience of anything anymore. There was just emptiness and silence. So I was empty. And this was the Brahman. So I became the Brahman. And this is a very, very different experience, because there are no emotions. Like, there is no human experience. The humanness is totally gone. No emotions. So no low vibrational emotions, which is nice. Also no high vibrational emotions, which is was a bit strange. So basically a kind of a void. There was no bliss. And it was just emptiness. Like, there was no sense of anything anymore. Like, you can't sense anything, not even other people, not yourself, or nothing. It's like one space. And then with that shift, or with that experience, a lot changed also in my life experience. So when I was looking at something, I saw it was manifesting in front of my face. When I looked away from it, it would collapse, like it didn't exist. So this is looking from outside of creation into creation, because we are the creators of our reality. So every single person is creating. And I'm not talking about manifesting, it's really about we're creating this reality. We are part of the creation. And when we look at something, on that level of the Brahman, it's just, we just see how it works. Before, we're just not aware so much, or we're not aware. So we look at something, it manifests, and if we look away, it doesn't exist. And this is very interesting, because it's the same for family and friends, for my bedroom, like something you're using every day. Like, you go into another room, and the room going before, it's gone. Like, you have no sense of it. And then also, I felt like I was in a very deep meditation all the time, so just sucked out somewhere. So it was kind of harder to be part of life and to have conversations, and there was no interest, in participating so much in conversations and interaction with people. everything got very, it's just flat in there. I mean, it's not even flat. There's nothing in there in that experience. And to get also another understanding how I experience it is, for example, when I look in the distance, it's like a movie screen, and everything between you and the movie screen, or me and the movie screen, is just energy, and it's created just there in between so that I can see it. And outside of this movie screen is nothing. So behind there is nothing, and you can actually see that as well. Yeah. So this was just a very interesting time.
And how long did that last?
For about 3 months.
Wow. And it was consistent, like continuously?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I was lucky because I knew people who were there before me for a certain amount of time. So they told me already beforehand what to expect, kind of. So I knew it's going to happen in that way. If I wouldn't have known, it would have been very, very hard. It would have been very hard because it's like from the humanness to not having an experience at all. And this is for the mind, very hard to understand. But it's like you become just an empty bag of empty body, like just the meat suit, or And then after about 3 months, I was just missing the love a lot, and I felt like I wasn't really any help for my friends and family anymore, or for my partner. They're just no interest in anything anymore. And then I decided, okay, I have enough of this. I want to come back. So basically bring back the humanness. And actually, because I made this choice, it happened. This was also very interesting. So it slowly started to come back in. So the human qualities, just different. So not the human love anymore, but the unconditional love. Then there is the joy of existence. There is like a natural curiosity to life. It's like a lot of qualities come back, but just in a very different way than they were before.
Like in a heightened way, it sounds like, maybe.
Heightened, very clear, and like I don't know if I can actually say this word in English. Like it can't be manipulated. Yeah, manipulated. It's like it can't be, nothing on the outside or nothing that happens in life could change the experience of it. So it doesn't need an event to let you feel the joy. It doesn't need a person to feel this love. The unconditional love is the same for everybody, no exception. And this is like, it just brings also in so much information, like we all here on this journey, everybody does what they have to do, there is no judgment. A lot of stuff it's just not there, like I mean, it wasn't in Brahman either, but just saying it's just not there. So a lot of changes are coming in with that. So you come back more as a human, but very different version than there was before. And then also, so when I was in Brahman, I was already sitting with people in one-on-one settings and transmitting the state. And then when this humanness started to come back in, also the pure divinity, this is the specific light that started to come in, and this is the light I then later on and at that time started to work with.
Well, it's really fascinating because I was wondering, as you were describing that, you told me before we started recording that you had a baby last year. And so I'm listening to you talk about the Brahman state, and I'm like, that would be a really interesting situation for a mother. But had you had your baby yet?
No, I didn't. Okay. But it's still the same. So this unconditional love is the same for everybody. So
but in the other state,
so
but in the other state where it was so neutral, and you were saying there's no lows, but there's also no highs, And
and this is similar now, because now I see it different. It's not so the system changed to that extent that it's not like emotion. So human, like as a you human before, you get a gift and you get the emotion of joy. You see baby, joy is coming up. It's like really this emotion, this energy rushes through your system. And now it's more like this joy is just there. It's like it's not as the high is not as high and the low is not as low, but it's just there all the time. So there is not so much a change in experience. And with the baby, it's very different. And I don't know how it would have been in Brahman, but now I still experience everybody exactly to be the same. Like there is no difference. Also, not the baby, but there is one aspect: the baby and the mother is connected through the heart. Like because we hear women are carrying the baby, and then the baby is always a part of myself, of my body, and so there is this connection, and this is this very special connection, and I don't experience it to anything else in this reality. So it's really just the baby. And I'm actually very happy because I didn't know how it's gonna be, how it would be. And I'm very happy that I can have this connection and this feeling of it's a deeper love, really from the level of the heart, and not like the unconditional love, which is also fine. Like there's no missing of the human love, but this is definitely different with the baby.
So fascinating. Yeah. Well, you had offered before we started recording to lead us through a meditation. Are you feeling up to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
I would love it.
Okay, sounds amazing. Let's aim for 10 minutes. And so what you can do, and also the listeners, is just sit back, relax, close your eyes, be in a very open, receptive state as possible. And I just guide you through the meditation. So I bring in the light first. This takes, and set up the session energetically, this takes about 30 seconds. So I'm just going to do that. I'm opening up the energy field. Bring in light. Then I expand the energy field. Expanding the energy field helps to hold more light in the system, and also more awareness comes with that as well. So I'm expanding. And the energy field will always be more expanded. So this is basically a never-ending process. Then I fill up the expanded space with light. So light is higher information. Information for the system. When the system receives it, it knows exactly what to do with it. Then I clear surface energies. So surface energies are all sorts of energies that you've been exposed to over the past 1 or 2 days, and also emotions that have been triggered up and floating around the system, or emotions that just haven't left the system yet. So I clear them, because emotions are creating the noise in the system. They're creating, or they are the movement, and then the system focuses on them. So this is mostly the main experience. But behind the emotions is the silence, the clarity, the stillness, the peace. This is always there. So, and the more I clear of those surface energies, the more light can enter. So there's a lot of light entering. Then I also clear energies out of the mind. So it's just stuck energy on the mind level. When we think a lot or have a lot of thoughts, it just means the energy doesn't move through fully. It just gets stuck on the mind level, and this is why it's there, and this is why we have a lot of thoughts. And we don't need to have any thoughts, To use the intellect, we don't need thoughts. So there is also now a lot of light on the mind level. And then I open up the central energy channel. This is where life energy flows through the system. So life energy flows from the root to the crown chakra, falls back down left and right, and flows up again. Life energy is life itself. So life experience. And the more open and expanded the system is, the more healed and cleared it is, the more life energy can flow. And then life experience gets a lot more easy, more enjoyable, simpler. And this is what we want. So then we have a mechanism in our system that creates the experience of past and future, because there is no past and future. There is only the present moment. But because of this mechanism, we can go into the past and we can move into the future with our thoughts and bringing our emotions from the past, bring them into the present moment or also into the future. So I'm going to remove this mechanism, bring you fully into the present moment. And now you can try to go into the past and the future. It doesn't work. You're only here with me now. And there is this very, very beautiful, high vibrational divine light present. It's a golden light. The golden light has the quality of awakening the God spark within us, so the divine spark within us. We are divine. We're human in this life experience, right? So we incarnate with a body. We're human in this life experience. We are a lot more. And we also have this divine spark in our system. And this specific light helps to activate this spark and bring divinity forward into your experience. So it's flowing in, it's flowing into your body. So it always comes in through the crown chakra and third eye chakra, into the body and energy body, and also the area around you. So this beautiful golden light is everywhere. And I love its quality because it's so nurturing for the human, also for the body. And it really brings forward this divine aspect. I clear energies out of the heart chakra that are blocking this or feel limited and small and unimportant. So to be also divine. So energies that basically don't see that this is a possibility or that this is just within us as well. Clear those energies. I just see a lot of limitations falling away. And more of this beautiful light is coming in. And then I put unconditional love into the heart chakra, and through the heart chakra, I fill up the whole system with unconditional love. At the same time, while this beautiful golden light is coming in more and more. I just feel a little bit of resistance to coming up second chakra. Resistance to life experience. Resistance to life itself is one of the fundamental resistances we have. Because life is unfolding anyways. It doesn't really matter if we prefer it or not. It just unfolds. And if we don't prefer it, so if there's resistance, then we create problems or pain, sadness, and so forth. So we create a lot from this resistance and clearing. Resistance, also fear, root chakra, fear from like changes, from something new that you don't know yet, fear from the future. Just clear this fear. While I clear these energies, the light is entering those spaces where these energies were before, so there is more expansion. So let's sit with this for a minute in silence before I end this meditation. Okay, we are finished.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I need a drink of water here.
Same.
That was really beautiful. So you do these meditations, you have offerings where you lead people through these regularly, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I have small group healing sessions where we really specifically work on clearing low vibration energies, and I bring people into experiences like, let's say, unity consciousness, or bring forward their true nature and stuff like that, or remove the ego, like whatever comes up in these sessions. But first of all, that people already have the experience, so that there's nothing to fear about, and also that the system already gets used to it. So when the system can hold these states, that it's just extremely normal. Done before, been there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so how can people find out more about those offerings?
Yeah. So I have two websites. There is one, em-healing.com, and this is where the small group healing sessions are. There is one on every week. And I also offer a free meditation. This is where I guide people usually in a very deep meditation, and then we sit in silence for some time as well. And there's also a little Q&A. So this is every Thursday at 9 o'clock Central European Time. This is also on this website. And then I have another website. It's called nextelevations.com. And this is where I offer I connect people to these high vibrational divine energies 24/7. So that because these energies come in and they just help to heal and clear the system and raise the level of consciousness, I call it, they pull you towards your personal highest truth, because everybody's truth in this lifetime is different. Yeah. And there's a whole website with a lot of information. Also, videos are there that people can do. And there's a monthly meeting with a system upgrade and so forth. So there's a lot of different offerings. And I'm also doing in-person retreats. Yeah.
Beautiful. And so is there anything that you want the listeners to be aware of as they are emerging from this meditation, this healing session? Any sort of care that would be particularly helpful as they move through the rest of their day?
I mean, just go with the flow. The energy stays around for a little bit always anyways. It will help to create the daily experience in a more smoother way. And then if people are interested, I also have a YouTube channel. They can go there. There are a lot of videos if they want to connect back to these meditations. But it's really, I think it's enough if people say, okay, I take some time, I meditate, and this is the time that I just go into my life, and it integrates into life anyways. Because when we sit and meditate, we do certain things. This is, for example, raising the vibration was a lot in this as well. It manifests in life, like it does that because the system is changing. So it can't be any other way. So people are receiving in the moment of meditation, and then when they move through life, this is where the integration is happening. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, Eva, this has been fascinating and beautiful and activating, and I've just loved every second. Thank you so much for coming on Soul Elevation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and for having this beautiful conversation and for all your beautiful questions. So thank you very much. And also thank you to the listeners.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Soul Elevation. If someone in your life would be inspired or uplifted by what you heard today, please take a moment to share it with them. These are the kinds of conversations that ripple out and elevate collective consciousness. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the powerful episodes ahead. Your presence, your energy, and your support truly help amplify this mission of raising frequency and anchoring in a more awakened humanity. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you for the next episode of Soul Elevation.